I was thinking about moving out to LA and everything, going hardcore. But honestly, I didn't do it because I was afraid of failure. The Santana Law Firm, a lot of high-profile civil rights cases. So a lot of the wrongful death cases, police shootings you see, wrongful imprisonment, we do a ton of that. Of course, I do criminal defense, and then we do personal injury and accident cases. Those are primarily the four areas I focus on.
A Latino judge in Orange County. What's some of the adversities that you have faced being Latino, whether it's being the judge, having your own firm?
To become a judge, I had to go out there and get votes. I was knocking on hundreds upon hundreds of doors, and sometimes the people that would answer the door.
Has there ever been a moment in your profession where you just was like, man?
Yeah, 100%. It's not there to help you. Well, in one sense, if you refuse to blow, your license will automatically be suspended by DMV, as long as, by way of a DMV hearing,
Que lo que mi gente, you know what it is. Podcast Central. Your boy, Tank Sinatra. We in Coastal Chronicles NYC, a.k.a. Taino Domingo. Call me anything but late for dinner because I love to eat. You know who I got right next to me on the left of me. The Activation King. Dren Star, talk to them, my brother.
Yo, what's going on?
Yo, listen. Hold on. I got to cut you off. You know I'm a cut-off king.
Wow.
Listen.
So, hold on.
Hold on. But for this interview, I gotta say this before we even go any further, right? Me, you call me Mr. Then, but a fun fact about my man right here, that nigga hates anything sports. If it ain't Channel 9 News or some court shit, he ain't watching it. Straight up. With that being said, what's happening, sir?
I'm chilling, brother. You know what I'm saying? Blessed to be alive, blessed to be free.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? We in the Duce Lounge, big Duce vibes.
All day.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to our sponsors, Duce, of course, Red Bull, Paper Planes.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Godspeed family. You know what I'm saying? They blessed me with some dope merch.
I ain't gonna hold
You know
you.
what I'm saying? But yeah, we got to tell them to like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah. Listen. Y'all know what time it is, man. When we come on the scene, make sure y'all got that notification popping. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you send it to your people. You know what the fuck is going on, man. We giving you the content that you need. Bottom line. With that being said, my brother, yeah, Godspeed got you looking right.
Yeah, this show is for the culture. So we got all types of situations going on here. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make it make sense. So y'all going to enjoy this one. We're going to get it to the nitty gritty. Do what you do, brother.
Let's go. Let's get it. Some people carve out a lane for themselves, and some redefine the whole game. Today's guest is the latter, a powerhouse in the legal world who has broken barriers and set the standard for what it means to serve both the law and the community. From the Bronx to the bench, he's built a career that spans persecution, private practice, the public service, all while staying committed to justice, mentorship, and giving back. His legal journey started with elite training, earning his law degree from Hofstra, leading his trial team to a championship, and catching the attention of federal judges for his courtroom skills. From there, he stepped into the fast-paced world of criminal prosecution, handling thousands of cases from street crimes to homicides. But he didn't stop there. Knowing he could have even a greater impact, he launched his own law firm, taking on high-profile criminal defenses, civil rights cases, and personal injury matters at both the state and the federal level. Not only has he made waves, he's made history, becoming the first Latino judge in Orange County, New York. He presided over one of the busiest courts in the state, bringing efficiency, fairness, and a deep-rooted commitment to justice. His work didn't go unnoticed. He's been honored with a Civic Leadership Award, a Humanitarian Award for Excellence in the Community, and recognition from the New York State Senate. And whether he's serving on boards, mentoring students, or shaping criminal justice reform, his impact is undeniable and powerful, but his influence doesn't stop in the courtroom. You've seen him on Law and Crime Network, Fox News, ABC, Oxygen, weighing in on major legal issues. He's taking a stage at the Mensa World Gathering, bringing sharp insight to law enforcement misconduct. And if that wasn't enough, he's also an actor, a professor, and a devoted husband and father. So let's get into it. I'm honored to introduce Jaime Santana, Esquire.
Damn, brother, thank you for that introduction, man.
Yeah, brother.
I'm going to have to hire you guys and just kind of bring you anywhere I need an introduction.
Just give me the bullhorn.
No, seriously, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I know we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity for us, man, to just keep building and growing. and just sharing our experiences with each other. That's what it's all about, with the hope that we can help someone else out there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, the experience, sure, I'm grateful for it. But if I can look back and say, okay, because of that experience, I've been able to make a difference, that's what really matters for me. But I appreciate it.
For sure.
The crazy thing is how life works, right? So we met this gentleman, want to say probably 4 months ago. We was coming to shoot a pod, and Armando introduced us, and it was literally an introduction, and then next thing you know, he sat down. We had a whole podcast without even having a podcast or even thinking of having a podcast.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, we brought the brother back so he can give his backstory, and hopefully there's somebody that's watching this that could get inspired and be the next Esquire. With that being said, brother, talk to the people, let them know your backstory on how you grew up, you know what I'm saying, in the Bronx, things that nature.
Absolutely. Born and raised in the Bronx, Castle section. Grew up in a family, in a household where, some may say it was a typical Puerto Rican family where, I think at one point I counted 9 to 12 family members in one house. But we made it work. Parents were there. Grandparents are there. It was that kind of a household, during a time when if you stepped out of line, grandma or grandpa would slap you right upside your head, right? You don't see as much of that anymore, at least without resistance. But that's how I was raised. And I appreciate it every single moment.
First and second generation.
Yeah, first generation Puerto Rican American here. Third generation Puerto Rican American here. And so for me, when you ask first, I've become the first for the most part. I was the oldest. I'm the oldest in my family as far as my immediate family. I have my younger brother, Joe. Joe, love you. Tia, love you. But because I was the firstborn, you have a certain level of responsibility in terms of what you're doing and the example you're trying to set, not only for yourself, but for others. But born and raised in the Bronx, went on to, I attended Mount St. Michael Academy in the Bronx, proud of it. From there, I went on to graduate from Binghamton University, Bingo, upstate New York. And after that, as you mentioned, I went to Hofstra for law school, Hofstra University, out on the island. And it was really during that time, actually, let me go back. I didn't really decide on becoming an attorney until probably officially, I would say, maybe my sophomore year in college. I actually thought I was going to pursue becoming a full-time actor, which many of us, face sometimes, right? Because in the back of my mind, I'm saying to myself, damn, all these years studying hard, I'm going to move out to LA and become an actor. What if it doesn't work? What am I going to do? And so at the time, I said, you know what? Let me focus. Let me refocus, I should say, because I also had a love for law. I said, let me focus on becoming an attorney. But I never gave up that passion for acting. I took acting classes as well in college. I did very well. I just didn't pursue it. So I went on, eventually became an attorney, eventually landed my first job as a prosecutor at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, which was a great experience. It's interesting. People ask me, well, how did you become a prosecutor? And there's a little background to it. So upon graduating from law school, actually before graduating from law school, I had interviewed for a position at a Wall Street firm that specialized in personal injury cases. And I could recall the owner of that firm saying, listen, Santana, he happened to be judging us during a trial techniques course. He loved my style and performance, and he said, I think you'd be a phenomenal attorney. I'd love to hire you, and you're going to get paid well, but you're not going to see a courtroom for the first 2 years as an attorney. And I had a problem with that. He said, you're going to be pushing paperwork, things of that nature.
Paying your dues.
Paying your dues. But he said, if you really want to become a trial attorney and learn immediately what it's like to be thrown in the courtroom and just getting busy immediately, you should become a prosecutor. So ultimately, that's what I did. So I went from having the opportunity to earn a significant amount of money as fresh out of law school attorney to taking on a job at the Brooklyn DA's office. And at the time, damn, no exaggeration, I think they started us somewhere around $36,000 a year. And that was tough. I was a single man at the time, but it was tough because I'm thinking, damn, $36,000 a year. What am I going to do with that over time? You know, how many raises can you possibly get within a certain period of time? But I had to refocus, and I had to realize I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it to gain the experience, keeping in mind that one day I was going to start my own practice. And so I believed that equipping myself with the skills and techniques that I was going to learn as a prosecutor will enable me to take on any case thereafter. And so that's what I did. I became a prosecutor. I paid my dues. And then shortly thereafter, I said, it's time for me to start my own practice. I always knew I wanted to start my own practice. So I did that. Opened up the first office in the Bronx, New York, right on Soundview Avenue, close to where I was born and raised. I thought it was important for me to do it in my hometown, so to speak, because that's where my people were. That's where my resources were. And I knew I'd be able to immediately start bringing in cases. And so that was the beginning of my journey in terms of becoming an attorney. And then, so along the way, life happens at the same time, right? So I became a father, and so your responsibilities start to change, because now you're not only thinking about yourself and what works for you. The minute you become a father, things change. Everything changes. So ended up moving to upstate New York, Orange County, wanted to, expose my son to a different life. I'm, like I said, born and raised in the Bronx, always proud of it, but I just wanted something different for my son. That was my choice. And I still have family that lives in the Bronx. I'm always in the Bronx. It was just a choice I made at the time. And so that's what led me to having an opportunity to become the first Latino judge in Orange County. Which you talk about, sort of shaking up the feathers there, man. I mean, imagine this, this relatively young Puerto Rican guy from the Bronx, New York, moving up to Orange County. Statistically, you don't see people with our skin color sitting on a bench. At least at that time, you just didn't see it.
Yeah, now you got a whole bunch of Puerto Ricans living
right.
out there
But now the opportunity presented itself. And so, I didn't have aspirations of becoming a judge at the time. It's just something that kind of fell in my lap, so to speak. And I said to myself, you know what? This opportunity is not about me. It's about others. It's about me having the opportunity to sit on that bench and let people, our people, see it is possible. It is possible. And so I did that. And by then, my daughter was born as well. And what was an amazing, amazing experience for me, just so grateful for it, was the fact that my children had the opportunity to watch their dad be sworn in as a judge.
Fire.
Like, that was an amazing opportunity. Like, if nothing else, that right there. In particular, a Latino judge at that, right? And so my experience as a judge was a great experience. I would have, individuals charged with a crime routinely come into my court, and my approach as a judge wasn't to just look at what they're charged with and do the typical, maybe throw the book at them, judge them, things of that nature. No. I would, if it was a young man or even a young lady, I was the kind of judge that was known to take the young man into my chambers along with the court officers and talk and say, young man, when you walk into court, present yourself well. You know what I mean? When you leave your home, and this is what I would tell people, when you leave your home, you are representing to the world who you believe yourself to be. Whoever you believe yourself to be. But just understand this. If I can do it, you can do it. Right? And so they would appreciate that. Some of them, they were never spoken to like that. Maybe some didn't have fathers around, right? And so those types of opportunities were important to me. Or instead of putting someone in jail, maybe I gave them put them in a drug program. And so I would have mothers and fathers and parents come up to me and say, Judge Santana, thank you so much for giving my child, my husband, my daughter an opportunity. And so that was a great opportunity being a judge, but ultimately it wasn't for me. It restricted me from being able to move with a certain amount of freedom. I enjoyed being in private practice, still in private practice, and so I moved away from that. And so my focus has been private practice, and it's been extremely, extremely rewarding. Moved out of Orange County, moved a little closer now to the city, just so I can be able to, get in and out of the city for my clients a little bit easier. And so now the Santana Law Firm, we primarily specialize in a lot of high-profile civil rights cases. So a lot of the wrongful death cases, police shootings you see, wrongful imprisonment, we do a ton of that. Of course, I do criminal defense, and then we do personal injury and accident cases. Those are primarily the 4 areas I focus on. But I'm finding myself more and more, in addition to the criminal cases and other stuff, I got to tell you, man, in terms of what goes on in our society, those civil rights cases, they're just endless because of so many violations that people are encountering and enduring. And I think if someone were to ask me what's most rewarding, I mean, no doubt if I'm on trial and I'm representing a client who's maintained his or her innocence and we go to trial and the person's found not guilty, that's extremely rewarding, of course. But on the other side, with respect to civil cases, I really, really am passionate about holding people accountable for their actions. I mean, that is something that I love to wake up for and do on a daily basis. For some people, they go through their daily lives routinely violated, whether you're on a private entity working as an employee or whether you're being violated by members of law enforcement, whether it was corrections, whether it was state or federal. And many of them don't have a voice. You know what I mean? Many don't have a voice, and that's where I come in, to be the voice for those who don't have a voice. And I'm proud of what I do, but most importantly, the highest level of compliment is when a client or maybe former client is expressing to me how happy they are, not necessarily with any type of guaranteed outcome, but just the passion I've brought to them as an attorney. Because I tell people, listen.
That shit is rare.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell people, I don't care how much you pay an attorney, whether it's me or the next attorney. There's no attorney in the world that can guarantee you an outcome. Any attorney who tells you that is full of it. I will always never hesitate to turn a client away if it meant that client wanted me to make them a guarantee. And I've done it before. But what I do guarantee is you're gonna get 200-300% effort from me and passion. That makes a difference. And in my experience, I find that clients can appreciate and respect honesty when an attorney is being honest. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're not hiring me to tell you what I think you want to hear. You're hiring me to be honest. And let's work through this battle together. I look at my clients as my teammates, not just a name on a piece of paper, not just a dollar amount. You hire me, we become teammates. We collectively figure out how we're going to navigate through this case, whether it's criminal, civil, whatever it is. And that's how I handle my cases,
All right, so let's we're gonna rewind a little bit.
Yeah,
that was a lot. That was a lot.
Let's do it, man.
That was a lot
Let's
to
do
unpack.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that. You say you come from the Bronx, right?
Yep.
So, this part that we do is for the culture. We have a lot of artists here. We have a lot of relevant people that's shaking and moving. They got a name for themselves, and for the most part of it, they want to be. They're rappers. They're producers. Some are former drug dealers. The list goes on. And you come from the Boogie Down Bronx. Why? What made you pursue law instead of being the regular? Yeah, I'm gonna be a rapper. I'm gonna be a producer, and I'm a, you know what I mean? Like, what made you want to do the law route? What was the why law?
So for me, even when I was even before becoming a teenager, I remember my parents would always tell me, "You should become an attorney because you love to debate," and it was true. Like I never knew how to accept no for an answer. Not in a disrespectful way,
That's crazy.
but in a challenging way. Yeah. Like if you told me A, B, and C, well, why A, B, and C? Yeah. I wanted to always dissect
Why
everything.
not 1, 2, 3?
Right, right. And I would always dissect everything and then drive them crazy. I'm like that to this day. My wife to this day, when we have
I'm the same way, brother, so I get it.
Let me tell you, man, when the wifey and I have our disagreements, she says every time,
shut it off.
I'm not on trial.
Yeah, shut it
I'm
off.
not a witness. And I tell her, but babe, I don't mean to come off that way.
But it is what it is.
But let's just talk about this. Yeah. Let's work through this.
Bendito, she got no wins.
No,
she has to love you,
listen,
bro.
I love her to death. I drive that woman crazy. 100%. 100%. But I think that's where it started. And then moved on to high school. I think I did some debating. I think we had a debate team or something like that. A little bit of that. But I think primarily that there's always been this challenge, this kind of persona in me that wants to challenge, especially if I feel it's something that needs to change or it's just inherently wrong. Like I just can't sit back and be okay with certain things. I have to at least try, especially if I have a vested interest in something or it's, best interest of a family member or a good friend or something like that, or just anyone, period. But I think that's where it started. And, I was just a regular dude, hanging out like everyone else. I would go to school. I was always very disciplined, but I hung out like everyone else. I went through the process of being a teenager, hitting the clubs and things of that nature, but there was always something in me that always maintained this very, very high level of discipline. I think that came from what my family instilled in me, but your family could only take you but so far, right? At some point, there's 3 men here. At some point, we become old enough to know right from wrong, and we know what we want or not. Now, some of us have different dynamics, and so we go through different things. We end up in different places. That could have been me at any point in time. Sometimes you make, be in the wrong place, wrong time, whatever it is, right? But sometimes people just get lucky in life. I think that's true. I think you just get lucky sometimes. But for me, that's definitely where it started. It started at home, and I kind of just followed wherever the universe was taking me at that time, and this is where I ended up. Now, there are sometimes days when I do question what my next move is, and I think that's a healthy mindset to never be complacent with where you are. I'm never satisfied. Different from never, I'm not saying I'm never appreciative of things. I'm just never satisfied in terms of what can I do to be a better version of myself? How can I be better? Because I'm
the hunger for more.
Yeah, man, hunger for more. Because I'm a perfectly imperfect human being. Mm-hmm. We all are, and I think that drive is what continues to lead me to different things, different avenues. But I still have different passions. I still love acting.
Hold that thought right there.
Yeah.
Because I want to touch on that.
Okay.
Before you go further, because you talk. And I need you to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, yo, bro, cut me off.
Don't worry about it.
Cut me off, man.
He's the cutoff king.
I'm the cutoff king. Yeah. So look, there's a reason why I cut you off. All right. So you mentioned earlier about acting, right? Mm-hmm. Got a 2-part question. The first part is, when did you start acting? You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'll let you answer that first, and then I'll go to the next question.
So I officially started acting during college. Okay. I took some courses.
So none in high school?
Did well. Nothing in high school. Okay. Nothing in high school. Officially in college. Did well, but as I said, I chose to
play,
go law, right?
Play or something like that? Or?
No, actual, just courses. So, acting classes taught by professors that were actors.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you in Courtroom, the whole shit is an act.
100%.
I was going there.
100%. I tell people that all the time.
It's the best actor wins.
The jury, that's my audience. Yeah. And the attorney, that's my role. And I'm trying to convince the jurors to believe.
So is that why you pursued acting? Because you tied it into the attorney part of it, or you legitimately wanted to do acting?
I legitimately had a passion for acting.
Okay.
And I still do. Okay. Legitimately. I just didn't have at that time, I didn't have the guts to
See, that's what I don't. That's why that's why I asked you the question, because I don't like how you said that, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
Piggyback on what my brother just said. So, for those that don't know about the court system, unfortunately, everybody in this room does. You have a lawyer that's going against the prosecution. You have opening statements. You have to present a case to 12 people. Once again, all this shit is an act. And you have to do a summation at the end to try to not to get the person that you're representing get incarcerated. So with that being said, I don't understand how you can say right there that you're afraid to act when you're doing the most acting when literally somebody's life is on the line.
Right.
Like that shit is like a super duper contradiction. But
no, not afraid to act. During college, I had to make a decision. Do I want to pursue becoming an actor, or do I want to pursue becoming an attorney?
Oh, okay. I get it now.
Yeah.
All right.
No, not now. No. And when you guys are ready, we'll talk about how I got involved in acting.
No, we
trying
to do. We trying to get into all
but that's what happened when I was a college student, and then ultimately said, all right, I'm going for law.
All right. Did anything happen to you physically in the Bronx where you was like, yo, you know what? This law thing, I got an itch for it. Like something happened to me. That's why before I got incarcerated, like I didn't care about law at all.
Right.
But now that I understand this language and this whole, I call it a language. It's a whole, because if you don't understand it, you don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? But did something happen to you where you're like, yo, this is what I want to do? Or you was just like, nah, this is.
There was specifically.
Have you ever got, I'm sorry, have you ever got like locked up before?
No.
Okay,
No.
so you clean slate.
Right.
Fresh.
Fresh.
Okay.
There was one incident. This was during high school. I was driving a car. I never forget. My first car was a Buick Park Avenue. I'll never forget. And it was like the pimp mobile. I used to get about 10 guys in that car. I had suede blue seats in the back.
Oh, you had the dice in the front,
Man,
too.
well, you know, my parents
had the dice.
mirror, right?
Yeah.
You had the dice on
My
there.
parents, they came to me and they said, you know, look, Papi, what type of a car would you like? And my response was, I would appreciate anything. No, tell us, what would you like? I'll never forget this. We crack up about this all the time. And I said, okay, a black 4-door sports car. They bought me a white 2-door luxury car.
You made it work.
The exact opposite.
God bless them.
But that's what they were able to afford at the
God
time.
bless them.
You know what I mean? And listen, I made it work. Wheels are better than heels, as they say, you know?
Word,
But
them feet.
Yeah. Of course. But yeah, that was kind of like the process or the progress, if you want to call it that, the maturation of Jamie.
Okay.
As they say.
So let's talk about because again this pod, you know, we hit the views with a curveball because you're the first attorney that we had on this. You know what I'm saying? You want to say something?
I gotta apologize. I didn't answer your question though.
No, good.
So just to rewind, so I was around Fordham Road. I'll never forget. I forget why. I think I was heading home, and next thing you know, I see lights behind me. Cops pull me over. Cop approaches, gets me out the car. I don't know anything about rights at that time, right?
How old were you? You remember?
I had to have been around 16
Oh,
years
you were
old.
young.
I was young.
Okay.
Yeah, I was young, 16, 17. I get out the car. I said, officer, you know, is anything wrong? Is there a problem? He says, well, you match the description in your car, typical stuff, right?
Regular bullshit.
Of someone who was in a car and was involved in a robbery. So I said, oh really? Well, it wasn't me. Continues to pat me down, goes in the car, searches the car, doesn't find anything. Then he comes back to me, he's patting me down some more.
Everything is illegal.
Right. And now it was wintertime because I had a coat or a jacket on. He unzips my jacket and he sees I still have my uniform on from my high school. I had my tie on, everything. And he says, oh, you're a student? I said, I am a student. As soon as he saw my tie,
Everything changed.
everything
She
changed.
relaxed.
Let me go immediately.
Mama huevo.
Right? But I'll never forget that encounter because when I left, first question I asked myself was, why did I get stopped? Second question was, what if I wasn't wearing a tie? Right? And that's the sad reality for a lot of our young people. a lot of our young people. So when you ask me, was there something that happened, that encounter always
That was the trigger.
Yeah.
So we're going to, I'm going to use that because now we're going to get into nitty gritty. And I'm going to keep it 100. Like the background, the viewers, they want to hear the shits.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of elements in car stops, you already know. It opens up a whole can of worms.
Yep.
That whole shit was illegal.
Yeah. But he got away with it because he had a tie on.
Sure.
And
But
they could have tore the car. They could have ripped the seats. They could have searched the trunk.
All types of shit.
It could have been, it could have got weird.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My case started with a car stop. So I already know what type of time car stops could lead into a whole, it could lead to you 20 years in prison, bro, if you don't know what's in that car.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you were driving, you got pulled over, you had the tie on, he left you alone, he fell back. Was this was in the Bronx?
Bronx, Fordham Road.
And the Bronx is upside down right now. So, like, you get pulled over now. I mean, now it's kind of different because there's body cams now. So they can't get away with the shit that they used to get away with. You know what I'm saying? Like, because these body cams, you can't hide from them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, just recently there was a, and, you know, I'm going to fast forward because we're going to get to the meat and potatoes. Just recently, the body cams caught COs that killed this inmate.
Upstate? Yeah.
And again, they didn't even know. They wasn't even activated. They didn't even know those things record 2 minutes prior before you press that button, and they thought they was going to wash him up and get away with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So now, like, I don't know, like 12 or 13 of them about to get locked up. But, like, they killed this dude. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, like, these type of situations been going on forever. But now because there's cameras involved, now it's getting exposed.
Magnified.
It's nothing new.
Because
I'm sure you had a whole pipeline of cases that you had to defend and do, you know, do what you do as an attorney. But this is wild, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, how do you, like this case, for example, I mean, it's all over the media. Like, what's your take on this type of situation that happened that just, like, went viral online?
Yeah. And so you hit it right on the head. One of the things you said was that this has been going on forever. Since the start of policing. Like, the start of policing was all predicated upon racism, right? We all know that. So fast forward, America today, it's always existed. It's just there was no body cam. There was no social media.
It wasn't
Everyone
in your
has
face.
an iPhone now.
It wasn't in your face.
Right? And so now the exposure is quick. And it goes from one person to the next immediately. But that case, and obviously it was all over the news, disgusting. Just disgusting. Other officers standing around, just as guilty if you ask me. In fact, you have a duty to intervene.
Exactly.
If you see your fellow officer is not acting accordingly. They should all be prosecuted, 100%. They should all be I think the kid was in handcuffs too.
Yeah, exactly.
He was in handcuffs.
Yeah. And because we've been up north, when you want a medical run like that, you're cuffed in the front. You're not cuffed in the back.
Right.
So the fact that they cuffed him in the back and he was on a medical run for whatever he did.
Nah, it was a transfer.
Whatever he was on, you still cuffed in the front.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was like it was crazy, man. Like, I see things like that and it just makes my blood boil because, like, I was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have happened to any one of us. Mm-hmm. That could have been me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So like the fact that these type of situations are being televised, and now now the world sees it, like, oh no, this got to stop. Like, what?
And the sad part is, it still happens in the jails, in the prisons, on the street. It still happens. One of the reasons is because of qualified immunity. So,
well, explain that. Cause I know what that means, but
not a problem.
Explain what that is.
So essentially, qualified immunity protects the officers, really any government entity, from being held personally liable for their actions. This is the reason why when we get these civil rights cases, we essentially, let's say it's NYPD, we'll name as defendants NYPD, we'll name the city of New York, and we'll name officers. And if we don't know officers, typically you'll name them as John Does. But ultimately, these officers, many of them, they're not losing their jobs.
At all.
They're not losing their pensions. Think about what happens when civilians end up getting arrested for something. Even if your case is later on dismissed, what happens for many individuals? You lose your job. Some people are losing custody of their children. You're losing your reputation, your home, your marriage.
And if you ain't got no money, you're going to be sitting in prison till you get released.
But because of public policy, and I'll get to it really brief, because of the public policy approach that the highest court in the land, Supreme Court, insists on really putting forth over the preservation of human life, they still have qualified immunity. So these officers know, I may mess up. Statistically, most of them are not prosecuted, statistically, whether it's on a state or federal level. So officers, the bad ones, not all of them, we all know, good people in law enforcement, but the so-called bad ones, they just continue to do what they do because there's ultimately no accountability. And so when I touched on public policy, well, the public policy consideration is, well, if we remove qualified immunity and we hold officers personally liable, or we at least expose them to that possibility, we're not going to have enough cops.
Yeah.
That's the public policy argument.
You know what's crazy though? Like when we came here, and this is what I could go on forever with this, but I had told him, yo, bring me to a mailbox real quick. And what I was mailing out was a CCRB request. You know what I'm saying? And I'm laughing because I'm like, see, this is the sucker shit that they do. Bro, we in 2025. You could email everything. Yeah. And I know they're just waiting, oh, we never received this, so the case is, it's dropped. Like, this
Tell
is...
the people what that is.
Civilian Complaint Review Board. That's when cops violate your rights, and you have an agency that checks them to see if what they did was illegal. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they violated me, and, I know my shit, obviously. So, when I filed the complaint, like, oh, yeah, we're going to mail you something. You need to sign it, boom, boom, send it back. And I'm like, the whole process is online. But this one element, now you want to use snail mail?
Right.
To say you never got it, you never received it?
Yeah.
I emailed this shit anyway. But I already see the games that they play.
Oh, they play it with firms as well. When we submit FOIA requests for absolutely every single thing in connection to our civil rights cases, they're reluctant to turn it over, or they just won't turn it over, period, until the court gets involved, and then there's a discovery process, right? But by then, you're now months and months into your case, and they know this.
Even that, like in my situation, like I sent them the body cam footage, and the first thing they said was like, "How did you get this?" Because that's something that they usually get, and I had it and I provided to them. Listen, I did all the homework for you, everything.
Yeah.
So if y'all don't find out that this sergeant violated me, but it is what it is. Like you got to follow the protocol. You got to do what they do.
But we always find a way to navigate around certain things.
You mentioned a couple minutes ago FOIA, right? What is that?
So freedom of information law is basically when you're looking to request information from, let's say, NYPD, you have a right to submit that request, and they're supposed to turn it over. But as I was mentioning before, they play games. So one of the things we do is we always try to be as aggressive as possible, because we understand, listen, if there's someone's brother or son who was shot and killed, that family wants answers as quickly as possible. But there is a distinction between when there's a death-related incident caused by a member of NYPD versus maybe someone was shot and wasn't killed. If there's no death, typically the district attorney's office is going to handle it. If there's a death, it automatically goes to the AG, Attorney General's office. So that's another process. In the AG's office, they take a considerable amount of time to review their cases. And so the whole dynamic could be extremely, extremely frustrating for everyone. But we just keep the foot on the pedal, so to speak, and we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until there's some level of accountability. Now, that means different things for different people. People talk about justice. If you really think about it, if someone just lost their loved one, there's no amount of so-called justice that's going to make it right? So what I tell people is this term justice is thrown around rather loosely, in my opinion. For me, for us, it's really about accountability. That's what it's really about. Yeah.
Now, we spoke about you being a Latino judge in Orange County, what's some of the adversities that you have faced being Latino, whether it's being the judge, having your own firm, or just being Latino and coming in and coming into a courtroom? You understand what I'm saying? Because, you know, you're handsome.
Thank you, brother.
You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that you command the room when you go inside the courtroom. I'm pretty sure that the jurors lock into whatever you say. What are some of the adversities that you be facing?
Oh, I definitely have had my fair share of experiences. I mean, you mentioned becoming a judge. To become a judge, I had to, you know, go out there and get votes. I was knocking on hundreds upon hundreds of doors, and sometimes the people that would answer the door
don't look like
they didn't look. They weren't too fond, you know, about who's this young Spanish Latino guy coming up from the city. But I didn't let it faze me. In fact, I would bring my son with me sometimes because I wanted him to experience what Dad was going through, you know, or other family members. They would help me. But it was what it was. I didn't sit at home complaining and crying about it. You know, I knew what the circumstances were, and it was my choice. I had to make a decision. Do I want to make a difference or not? It was that simple. But even just to flip it, as a private attorney, when I first started practicing up in Orange County, I always had my practice in the Bronx. I opened up a second office at that time in Orange County. I remember going into the courtroom, and I would get like stupid comments from judges, like, you know, Mr. Santana, you know, you're not in the Bronx anymore. Like literally, I've had a judge tell me that before, and I would say, you know what, Judge, but with all due respect, the rules of law still apply to your courtroom. And the laws in the Bronx are the same laws they are here in your courtroom. And you know, when I started to earn their respect, not that I should have had to earn their respect.
And this was New York State, right?
This was New York State.
Okay,
right?
yeah, it's New York, yeah.
But when things started to change was when they started to see how much of a beast I was in the courtroom in terms of how I handled myself. And so I knew the law, I had the skills. You mentioned confidence. That's how I am when I walk into a courtroom. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for my client, you know? And when they saw that, more and more, they started to realize this is a man we need to respect. And so sometimes you start out as adversaries, and slowly but surely, in some instances, the relationship starts to change, and it becomes a mutual understanding.
That's key. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You may not necessarily like the person on a personal level, but you're going to respect me. And as a judge, robe or no robe, my level of respect for you is going to be matched by the level of respect you're giving me. I mean, one of the most recent trials I had, I still practice a lot up in Orange County, but one of the most recent trials I had, and this is no exaggeration, I was literally in a shouting match with the judge in chambers. So to the extent that the court officer had to come into the chambers and say, can you guys please keep your voices down? The jury can hear. Now, did I want the jury to hear? No. But there is no judge I'm going to allow disrespect me. It's just not happening. And I've had that happen several times. Battling judges who are only interested in having my clients take a plea. I'm not that guy. If my client chooses to take a plea, that's on him or her, right? But I'm not the kind of attorney to go into courtroom and just try to get my guy or girl to take a quick plea. That's not my style.
That's happening right now. That's why I hit you before you pulled up. That's happening right now every day, bro, in the A$AP Rocky trial. Like, he has to be a rep. Like, the way they going at it, and that it's just wild. And the judge is every 10 minutes, he's like, stop. This is a no squad. Like, what do you? But you know, the prosecutor's going hard. Like you said, like, yo, this is the law though. This homeboy's bugging. Like, he's having a field day in your courtroom. Like, regulate, check him.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, if you're not firm on yours, they get away with it. And we all, like, I mean, they don't know, but I know that all judges were like former prosecutors. So they always side with the prosecution. You know what I'm saying? So like, when the prosecution don't get their way, they start acting fidgety. Like, you know what I'm saying? That like they feel entitled.
Oh yeah.
And then when you got a good defense attorney that's on his 1 and 2s, that's when it becomes a real sparring, like a 100%. War.
Sometimes it feels like there's 2 prosecutors I'm up against.
Word.
Me, you know, going against the judge and the prosecutor. Like, sometimes the decisions are so outrageous, but you have to maintain your cool, especially if it's in front of the jury.
So I'm gonna tell you a funny story. The way I learned this, because when I first caught my case, like this was 20, 25 years ago. But you know, I didn't know law. I'm just a young kid from the projects. I got myself in trouble. I know how to hide my peoples. I said, yo, I need the best lawyer. I got him. Crazy recommendations. Long story short, he's beef. Him and the judge got beef. And I'm like, yo, bro, like, again, I don't know nothing. Like, so that's my first case. And, you know, we walk out the courtroom. I'm like, yo, I got to holler at you, bro. Like, you pissing this nigga off, bro. Like, but my life isn't. And he told me straight up, but like, fuck that nigga. I don't give a fuck about him at all. We going to trial. You know who I got to sell? The jury. And I didn't know none of this. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the first time I caught a case. I don't know what's going on. I don't know this language. I don't know nothing, bro. But all I know is that, bro, y'all just keep fighting. He's yelling at you. You yelling at him. And I'm like, I was ready to fire him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, yo, bro, but that was his passion. Now that I understand how this works, like you said, I'm not letting nobody violate me.
Yeah. I will say this, though. That has to be done in good taste.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to take it to the extent that now you're completely on the judge's bad side and all the rulings are going to be against
you. Yeah.
There has to be a balance, right? There's balance in everything. Just like, I mean, we can agree that sometimes clients are just unrealistic. And they think, well, I paid a private attorney. That means I'm going to get guaranteed results. And I just shot and killed someone. How come I can't get probation? You know,
crazy request.
Like ridiculous. You know what I mean? So I just say there always has to be balance. You know, but I'd rather have an attorney that's passionate about representing me than not.
Oh yeah, like now I get it because again I learned and I had to learn the hard way. Right. But again, if you don't know this. You're just blindfolded by what's going on in that courtroom because you don't understand. You know, the average person that winds up in the courtroom, in their mind, the judge is God. He's the controller. He has the power. The black robe is intimidating. He's telling you when you could go, when you could come, all of this crazy, wild shit. You know what I'm saying? But now that I know how it works, and it's like, may the best actor win.
Pretty much.
Whoever sells the jury. And, you know, once he told me that, he goes... He's whatever. I got to speak to these 12 people when we start plucking them. Don't worry. And when I seen him do, I was like, wow, it's all an act. Yeah, it's all how you sell the story.
Right. Yeah, and I tell people, it's also about the evidence you have to work with. Right.
That's because a big part.
If you don't have enough evidence that's in your favor or lack thereof, you need to be realistic about your situation. People come to me, you know, sometimes they'll say, Santana, should I take the deal? Should I not take the deal? First thing I tell them is I said, listen, I know you want me to make the decision for you, but I can't.
You can't?
I can't make that decision for you. What I can do is I can help navigate you through the evidence they have and that they don't. And then what's more important to you? Do you want to take that? You know, there are people that are innocent, there are people that are guilty, and then there are people in the middle.
You know what you did.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like
you want to roll the dice, you want to play CeeLo in your life?
And I appreciate you said that, right? Because there's some clients who they know what they did, but they want to act innocent, and then be mad at the attorney.
It's like 75%.
It's like, come on, you know. But a lot of my clients, they will say, Santana, look, I know what I did, man. This is male or female, and they'll say, listen, I know what I did, but I'm gonna take my chances and go to trial, or I know what I did. Just try to get me the best deal possible. I could respect that. Yeah, I could respect that. You know.
So I tell you. You gonna say something? I'm gonna tell you a funny story about. The more I'm on this pod, like more and more people know about my life, and because I don't know what it was, I was always intrigued with law for whatever reason. But once I got incarcerated, like that was like to me like that was my calling. Like hit the law library. You're gonna be parked for a couple of years. Law's your thing. Now go ahead, prove it. You know what I'm saying? But before I got incarcerated, right, I was a juror on a trial. I was a juror on a murder trial. It was real. So now I got to really see. And the way I got on that jury panel, I lied. Because you know how this goes. Or have you ever been arrested? Raise your hand. You know, and if you don't want to be on a trial, you raise your hand and they just throw you out. All right, go home. Have a nice day. So once I seen people raising their hand in the courtroom, well, do you have people in law enforcement? Are you there? I said, I'm not raising my hand no more. I wanted them to pick me.
Right.
long story short, I got picked. You know what I'm saying? And I got picked as a juror. So I'm like, oh, this is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, oh, you're gonna hear about guns. It's a murder case. It's a homicide. You're gonna hear this. If anything, again, they start. If anything, these things bother you, just raise your hand. Well, I kept my hand down. Before you know, they picked my thing, shit in the juror box. I got the voir dire. They started asking me questions. I'm fronting. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, do you dislike cops? I'm like, nah, cops is cool, but if you break the law, you gotta pay the price.
Right.
They're doing a job. It is what it is. They don't bother everybody. Like if you did something illegal, if somebody stabbed my mother out, yeah, I want them to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I played this game. They're like, all right, yeah, he's cool. You know, long story short, now I got picked for this murder case, and I sat on the jury for 2 weeks. And we going back and forth and this and this and this and that. Mind you, I'm the only hood dude on the jury. Everybody else they white. They not from the projects. They just not from the hood, bro. And this is a whole hood case, a whole hood story. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna drag the story out. I'm trying to just prove a point. So now when I caught a case and they came to me, I had an A1 attorney, bro. Like, he came highly recommended. I never been in the drug game, but all my peoples that was in the drug game, they all walked. They was filthy. Like, he was a beast. So now, my case was a firearm charge. You know what I'm saying? But because I was a jury before, I didn't tell him none of this. And he told me straight up, yo, take the offer. I said, I'm not taking nothing. But he didn't know what I had planned in my mind. He goes, I'm telling you right now, this is New York, this is Manhattan. You got caught with it. I don't even have, like, the hearing. We already lost the hearing. They're not going to suppress it. We going all the way. And the defense is going to be difficult. Like, they got you. And I said, all right, well, you got paid, right? Do your job. But he didn't know what I had plans. You know what I'm saying? So he goes, all right, I gave you my advice. We're going to go back in front of the judge. And on the record, you have to say that you're willing to go to trial after I advise you not to go to trial. I said, all right, cool. Let's do it. He goes, you're facing a minimum of 7. Minimum. I said, all right, let's do it. Come on, let's go. And he's looking at me like I'm nuts. He's like, bro, like, I'm not telling him shit. So, they record the case. The judge calls my name. Spoke to the attorney. He said that the offer, you don't want the offer. You're ready to go to trial when we come back from lunch. I said, yeah, I live 10 minutes from here. I go home, I put my suit on, I come back, we can start picking them.
What was the offer?
3.5. 3.5. And, if we go to trial, the minimum was 7.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I go, all right, cool. The minute I said that was it. The minimum was 3.5 straight up. Right. They wasn't playing with me. They called me outright. There was no way out of it. So my lawyer and the DA start talking. So my plan was, I skipped this whole part, my bad. My plan was to pay off 1 or 2 of the jurors. Because, I was, but listen, law is dirty.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Of course.
So I'm playing the game that everybody else plays.
Yeah.
The judge, the prosecutor, they all in cahoots with each other. So now I'm learning this shit. I see it because I was a juror. So I know where all the jurors go to eat because, we right here downtown, so there's not too many spots. Money talks, bro.
It does.
Straight up.
Listen, in a lot of my cases, all of a sudden, not because of me, but because of defendants, witnesses.
Disappeared. So I was on that type of time. Money talks. I said, I know what I'm gonna do. I got a few bands. I'm gonna boom. I'm gonna pick the hood one that got picked out the jury. Yo, here, hold this. Sit. You already know what you got to do, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't tell none of this to my attorney, of course. This is the plan in my mind. So because I had this plan in my mind about what I was going to do, because this is my life on the line, while my attorney, he's telling me to take the cop out. When I said I was ready to go to trial, bro, my attorney spoke with the DA. In 2 minutes, they came up with probation. That was never on the table, bro. Ever on the table. I said, let me get that. Right now. Sign that shit right there. But you see what I'm saying? If I never did what I did and seen how this system really works, I would have took the offer, bro.
And that's what usually happens.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But because I was so intrigued with law and I was self-taught and I seen the ins and outs of this shit and how it really works, he didn't even have a defense for me.
But you know what was even more disgusting about that? The prosecutor. They were ready to give you multiple years, right? When they knew they could have given you probation from the beginning.
From the
Exactly.
gate.
But
From the gate. They was waiting to see your move.
Yeah, my thing is, well, what changed? Nothing changed. The facts of the case are still the same. Maybe your so-called complaining or whatever evidence you thought you had fell apart. But why were you ready to give this man all these years? And all of a sudden, in 2 minutes, like you said, you're willing to give him probation.
It was nuts, bro.
Yeah, that's
Jay,
part of what I didn't like when I was a prosecutor.
Jay, let me tell you
Didn't
something.
sit right with me.
It's something he left out, right? So when he was a juror, right? I'm gonna try to make this real quick. He was in a case. It was a murder case, right? So mind you, he just finished telling you he's the only hood dude that was on that panel. They presented a case. Prosecutors, everybody did their job, whatever. He's saying, "Yo, make it make sense." When they was all about the deliberating, he's like, "Yo, make it make sense. Why is this X, Y, and Z?" Everybody was ready to convict. He's the only one sitting there like, "Make it make sense." What did the police bring up to make us say right now that he's guilty? Mind, he was guilty as a motherfucker. You understand what I'm saying? I say that to say this. I just finished receiving a jury duty letter. I always throw them shits frisbee. Ever since he said that, he always he planted a seed in my brain that I could be a person that could probably send, whether the person is guilty or he's innocent. Because this is the problem, right? We don't go to the juries, right? And we don't get, my peers aren't the ones that's fucking fight. Well, not even fighting for my life, but they said judge by your peers. I don't got 12 peers. Right. I don't even got one peer. You understand what I'm saying? So if you could be that one person to make a difference in that person's life, regardless whether they fucking guilty or not guilty, you should go. Because at the end of the day, ever since, am I lying?
Thanks.
I screenshot him. I said, yo, look what I got. He started laughing. I said, nigga, it's on.
Yeah. I tell people this all the time. I tell them, listen, you can't complain when your people are on trial and we look over the jury selection, the pool of jurors that I can potentially choose, and many of them are not an accurate representation of who you are or where you came from.
Or identify who you are.
Because it makes a difference. So there's so many times, so many things go on in trial that I understand, because before I'm an attorney, I'm a man, born and raised in the Bronx, New York. So there's certain dynamics I understand that maybe this juror is not going to understand. But maybe someone who's from the same streets is going to understand certain dynamics that may establish a person's innocence. And I tell people, I say, you don't understand how powerful you can be.
Let me hit you with some other shit. He had 2 hung juries. Tell him what one of the ladies that was a part of the jury told you.
So I didn't get. I mean, he finished with the part. I just wanted to get into my part about my strategy in my mind. But what he's talking about is that, I obviously after the case, we could speak to the jurors.
Right.
And one of the jurors, she was a Latina. She was a teacher. You know what I'm saying? A Spanish teacher. And I'm not gonna front, because I kept locking eyes with her, and I saw her tearing. I'm like, oh, she's gonna smoke me. She feels bad for me. You know what I'm saying? Because, I locked in with my peers. You know what I'm saying? I had two Spanish jurors, an older lady and a younger lady. Anyway, long story short, after the trial was hung, I'm outside. I didn't get locked up. I'm just got my freedom. I'm free. She comes up to me, right? And she just gives me a big hug, and she's crying. And I'm bugging, because I don't know this lady from a hole in the wall, but for 2 weeks, I paused her life, and she had to listen to my case and my story. And she was like, you reminded me of my nephew. your whole mannerisms, your aura. You were from the projects on the Lower East Side. You got a thing for the girls. You had a nice car with the loud music, with the jewelry. That's my nephew. My nephew is you. And the cops mess with him all the time. There was no way I was going to fight because she knew, like, you know what I'm saying? When you're born and raised, it's regular shit to us. Yeah. Cops go throw you on the wall, frisk you, search you. They come up with some okie doke shit. But she goes, yeah, this is why I couldn't find you guilty. Like, you didn't even do nothing. There's no victims in the case. No crime was committed. You know, they alleged to find a firearm. Cool, they got a firearm off the streets, but there's no victims in this case. Right. You were just chilling doing you. It was hate. The cops were just hating on you. And I said, you know, thank you. And she just ran away, bro.
Jury of your peers.
Yeah. But she was one of my peers. Right. And then, you know, when I really found out the real 411, they was like, yeah, the two jurors that we picked hung the jury. Yeah. And my lawyer was always like that. He was like, yo, as long as I get one, forget about, I just need one, bro.
Right. And people don't understand. So some potential clients may think, well, Santana, what's the problem? Just select all people of color. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. You got challenges. If the prosecutor starts to see...
First of all, they got to be there first.
Yeah, right. They got to be there first.
Exactly.
And even if they are, the prosecution sees I'm choosing just Latino or black, they're going to raise what's called a Batson challenge, and they're going to say, Judge, Santana's choosing only people of color. Yeah. It's a problem. Yeah. So, like you said, you have to be there first.
And you gotta
Give
hope
me
that
an opportunity.
And you gotta hope that alternate is fucking, you know what I'm saying?
Look, in the A$AP Rocky trial, there's none. And this is LA. It's like New York. It's LA, bro. And they're complaining. No, you know what the complaint is? They not showing up. So you got to work with what you have.
Right.
You got a jury pool of 100 people, and none of them are fucking black or Hispanic. Those are the ones that responded to that notice. There's nothing you could do about that, bro.
Don't be mad about it.
There's nothing you could do about that. You got to deal with you got to work with what you have.
Man, I'm so glad you guys raised this because people don't talk about it. People don't. Sometimes our own people are quick to complain.
Yeah, and it only it hits. You know? It resonates when it happens to someone that you know.
Yes.
But this has been happening for years and years and years.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like when I was going through my trial, my family didn't know nothing about it. They knew about the second trial because I did a dolo. My sister was like, "Yo, you bugging." Like, all right, the first one we did, but God forbid if something happens to you, mom's finds out, and the next time she got to see who's up north, she's never going to speak to me. Like, that's going to be a whole, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be a whole nother situation. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, like, I saw that movie play out. So I'm like, what could happen? Like, I already saw it play out. That was the scariest part. Right. I didn't know, again, they talking about my life. I don't know what's going on. I don't know about this and objection and all of this shit that's going on. You know what I'm saying? So, like, once I had the first hung jury, I'm like, oh, I'm good. I went back on tour, went back on the road, living my life. My attorney called me 6 months later, yo, bro, we got to shake him. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, yeah, but you know me, it's like,
right.
Some people hate lawyers. Like, he wants another bag. And I'm like, yo, homie, now you bugging. Like, he goes, no, you had a hung jury, bro. They could keep on prosecuting you until there's a verdict. They could just keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jay, I want to ask you this, right? It's almost a two-part to the last question I asked you. Has there ever been a moment you in your profession where you just was like, man, fuck this shit, man. I'm going to just go act, man. I don't want to do this shit no more. Like, I'm tired of all the bullshit, this, that, and the third. Has there ever come a point in time where you looked yourself in the mirror and had that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You brought up the acting. So when I made the decision to go on to law school, like I said, the passion never left me, then became a prosecutor. When I became a prosecutor, I told myself, there has to be a way I can figure out how to start acting. So believe it or not, I used to take auditions. I used to go from Brooklyn, get on the train quickly, and head to Manhattan and go on a quick audition. And that would take maybe an hour. And I remember I would get back from the audition and people would say, where were you? Where were you? And maybe I was a few minutes late to court, but I had to figure out a way to start pursuing my passion. And so that's what I did. I started taking on extra roles, background stuff, getting paid maybe $50, something like that. And that's how I started little by little, right? Until the first speaking role came. And then I just kept doing more and more, landing some independent stuff. And before you knew it, I became a legitimate unionized actor. So today I'm part of the SAG-AFTRA union. And I've done, everything from plays. I'm talking like Shakespeare, different types of plays, to independent movies, some small speaking roles on some things. And that's still a huge passion of mine, but I have not been pursuing it lately because I've been so focused on building a practice. I have other passions. I write music.
Okay.
There's more to life than just your profession, and it's okay to really be deep into your profession and what you do and really honing in on those skills. But the older I get, the more experienced I become. But through that, the idea is that we also gain wisdom, and along with that wisdom comes more certainty, and you feel more capable of taking on more challenges and risks, because you know that at some point life is over, right? Life is over, so you got to find that balance. So yeah, man, sometimes I've looked myself, in the mirror and I say, Jay, is this what you want to continue doing for the rest of your life? There have been periods when I've even said to myself, okay, if I don't do this, what would I do? What would I do? This is my livelihood, right? And fortunately, thank you to my clients, it continues to grow. But I have this conversation oftentimes with some of my colleagues, and a lot of them are trapped because they have no other passions.
No outlets. Yeah,
man, no outlets. They don't know what else to do.
Shit consumes them.
Yeah, it consumes them. I have a vested interest in my practice and the outcome of cases for my client, but that's not my life, man. That's not like, I'm a father, I'm a husband. You know what I mean? I get up, I meditate, I hit the gym, I play golf. There's different things I really enjoy doing, and I think the older we get, we got to realize we got to stay balanced because it's all over soon.
Facts.
Like, you talk about life expectancy. A lot of us are in our late 40s, approaching that 50 mark. Some of us are in the 50s already. At one point in life, we were going like this.
Stress too.
Yeah, man, and it's over. It's over at some point. So, but I definitely, question what the next step is going to be. And I think it's okay to do that. I think it's okay to do that because you need to plan. You got to have massive action plans no matter what. So, right now I'm on the next, like I typically think out maybe what's my 3 to 5 year plan. You know what I mean? While trying to find that balance and still going all out for what I'm doing today. Yeah. All
right. So this is you in the Duce Lounge right now.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So obviously, Duce is a cognac, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We don't condone no drinking and driving here. Like, you have to drink responsibly.
Yeah.
But this is New York City. There's a lot of clubs. There's a lot of nightlife. There's studios. Can you give people advice on this whole DWI drinking? And I'm going somewhere with this because one of my homeboys scored a case, and he beat it. And the way he beat it was because when the officers approached him, they pulled out the little portable breathalyzer, and he didn't take it. He didn't have to take it because that's not admissible in court. And a lot of people don't know that. That portable one is not admissible in court. It's the one that they do in the precinct.
Right.
So can you elaborate on that?
So, interesting question, because people ask me all the time, Santana, should I blow into the breathalyzer machine or not?
Never.
And
go ahead.
That's your safest route, and I'll explain why. But there's different levels, right? There's misdemeanors and felony DWI. So if you've had DWIs before, you're facing a whole different set of consequences. But just to focus in on your question, you said never, right? And here's why. If you do blow, now they definitively know what your BAC level, blood alcohol content level, is at. So if you're above a .08 in New York State, you're legally intoxicated or illegally, depending on how you look at it, right? But if they know that because you blew, I can't do anything with that number unless I'm contesting the validity of the machine in and of itself. So sometimes machines are defective, they break down. Maybe that's going to be one way I could prove there was a problem, and so that's not a reliable source. But typically, they're functioning very well. So if you blew, I can't do anything with that number. If you don't blow, now that allows me to argue really anything.
Yeah.
Because
But it never helps you. It's not there to help you at all.
It's not there to help you. Well, in one sense, if you refuse to blow, your license will automatically be suspended by DMV, as long as, by way of a DMV hearing, the administrative law judge is able to establish, upon questioning the officer, hey, listen, did you properly advise the person that in the event they refuse to blow, their license will be suspended? If the person says, I'm still refusing to blow, then your license is going to be suspended, definitely, by DMV, irrespective as to whether or not you're found 100% innocent. You can get off on the criminal case and still be facing a suspension through DMV. But just to circle back, if you don't blow, now I can really argue anything, because what's left now is what they call indicia of reliability. And what that is the officer now may have argued, well, he or she had slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, I smelled alcohol, things of that nature. That's indicia of reliability. Just a legal way of saying there's other ways they can potentially prove your guilt. But if I can prove you passed, touch the nose, walk the line, do all this tests, if I can prove, which I've done before, that you passed the majority of it, maybe a jury is going to think, this person really wasn't intoxicated. We have no BAC number to go by. Maybe the person really wasn't intoxicated. Now you're closer to being found not guilty of something. And for some people, maybe that is the case, because people have a different tolerance for alcohol, right? But yeah, you hit it on the nose.
A lot of people, they don't even know they could refuse that. Like, they just get scared. Oh, yeah, my license will get suspended. Bro, that's right. Like, and then they want to offer you programs, and this is like, it's just a whole. So now let's take it a step further, because now in New York State, weed just became legal in New York State.
Yeah.
So now people think they could just drive around smoking, blowing it down. And that's a whole nother gray area right now.
Let me tell you.
Because hold on, before, I know you're saying no, but with alcohol, after a certain amount of hours, they could test, like
Correct.
you said, your BAC, sometimes they take blood. But with weed, you could have smoked a month ago. Right. So how did they know you was driving high versus you just smoked 2 weeks ago? Like, what's the situation with that gray area?
So I had a trial, a very high profile trial,
that's crazy.
right on those exact topics. It was a vehicular homicide trial. And my client was driving a car.
So vehicular homicide means somebody died.
Right. Someone died. So my client was the driver. His girlfriend was the passenger. They were driving. Long story short, he got into a car accident. She died. Everything was good at the beginning. Good in the sense that there were no charges. He was at in the hospital. They took his blood. When they got the results back from the blood tests, they learned he had marijuana in his system. Now, some people say, well,
what's the THC level?
Right. So some people say, well, wait a minute. How can they know exactly when he did it and whether or not the marijuana in his system actually caused the accident? Here's the thing. By New York State law, because unlike alcohol, which can definitively test how intoxicated you are or not, the science has not caught up when you're dealing with marijuana.
Wow.
So there's no test, hey, blow into this. Let me see how high you are. There's no test. They can check you by blood. And so now what they do, and this is what happened in this trial. My guy was charged with vehicular homicide, young guy, never been arrested before, a good guy. But they said, no, you were impaired by marijuana and THC. And that's the law in New York State. If they detect any level of marijuana in your system, specifically THC,
that's crazy.
They can charge you with driving while your ability is impaired. And if there's something that happens that's terrible, like a death, they can add or enhance that to a vehicular homicide. So that's what the prosecution did in that case. They brought in expert after expert. I was cross-examining experts forever, just focusing in on THC. We brought in our experts. I brought in an accident reconstruction expert. Brought in everything I could possibly bring. That trial went on forever and ever. And he was found not guilty of the vehicular homicide. Now, that was a battle. But I'm glad you brought it up because there are 100% people out there driving thinking, oh, I'm good now. I'm good. Life is good. I can smoke, do whatever I want. I tell people, man, you're in for a rude awakening, especially if you're driving. In particular, okay, marijuana is legal, right, to a certain extent. But I've literally, with my own eyes, I've seen and witnessed people trying to create a situation that doesn't even exist, walking or driving by officers, trying to antagonize them. You know, it's like you're just asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And if you do, you should be prepared to deal with the consequences that come after that.
Facts.
But I'm glad you raised that because that's not the case. People need to really be aware of the potential consequences if you're doing something like smoking and then you get in a car and you drive.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you said that because you're the lawyer. I'm not. But I tell people all the time, nah, but it's legal. You could, no, bro. It's like alcohol's legal too. You can't drink. Like, it's the same thing. You can't do it, bro.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
And the fact that you said there's no test for like how long it's been in your system, it's just there.
They can't test the levels.
They didn't know like when it, you know what I'm saying?
Right. You know, now your THC levels, you know, just for purposes of talking about the relevancy with respect to when an expert comes in and testifies at trial, your levels you will score higher if you, let's say, just smoked versus if you smoked 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago.
Oh, so they could use that.
Yeah.
All right, so now let me ask you this. Like you said, I think it was your client that was in the hospital?
Right.
So do they need a warrant to take your blood?
So they took his, I think they actually took, I'm trying to think back. I think they took his blood while he was sleeping.
Oh,
And
so he didn't even know
He
it.
didn't even know. If I'm not mistaken, he was sleeping.
But is that
Yeah, it was
legit?
it was 100% legit. Well, first of all, it's part of the procedure, the medical procedure.
Got it.
So
got
typically
it.
the doctors
So they got to do that on normal, but then they're not
Right.
telling them. They sending that to the lab to see if they got
Yes.
whatever else is in that
And
blood.
most people aren't thinking that.
Nah, hell no.
You're not driving thinking you're going to get into an accident and kill someone,
Yeah.
but then they hit you all of a sudden with a vehicular homicide charge.
Wow.
People don't. People just
murder
don't know.
charge over.
Yeah. People don't know. It's a dangerous situation. So just like they say, drink responsibly, smoke responsibly.
Yeah, because you know the smoking thing is brand new in New York, and like
Yeah.
you said, people walking around blowing smokes in cops' faces.
Right.
I drive all the time. People in the car, and I'm like, yo, y'all bugging, bro.
Of course. Or how about when you're driving on the highway on the road, and you could smell the weed coming from the car in
can.
front of you. So if you're a police officer and you're smelling that, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 now, you've just given that officer a reason.
And then
to,
they
to do
couldn't,
what, right?
Yeah.
To maybe pull up alongside you, look to see if there's a reason to pull you over.
And for all these years, they've been using that from day one. For
Right.
30, 40, 50 years. Oh, I smell marijuana.
Right.
Now that they can't use it anymore, but now you're giving it to them.
How you giving it to them? Facts.
Do that in the crib, bro. You
Yeah.
ain't got to be driving around like that, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I get it. Most people are saying to themselves, listen, if I decide to smoke weed in my crib, you're telling me I now can't get in my car and drive? That's my right? What I'm saying is you can do that. I'm just saying understand the potential consequences.
And a lot of people don't know, like, vehicles are like homes.
Yeah.
They just can't go in there and start searching your vehicle and none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I learned this through going through my life situation.
Right.
Like, they wasn't supposed to go in there and search the way they did. You know what I'm saying? They went, and, you know, I sent you my case. Like, they went and had a legitimate search and turned it illegal.
Right.
The cop said on the stand he was searching for narcotics. It wasn't a narcotic car stop. Car was parked at a hydrant. What does a hydrant have to do with you searching my car for narcotics?
Right. Give me a summons.
Thank
That's
you.
it. Keep it moving.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And my shit went all the way to the Supreme Court, and one of the judges said, this is not, because they said they couldn't take the car in a pound because it wasn't factory. And you know what the judge said? How come you didn't take the rims off? The rims are not factory.
They did the inventory search.
The inventory search. How come you didn't take the rims off? The rims didn't come with that Lexus.
Right.
So are you sure you want to run with that defense? You know what I'm saying? But again, the way the law is, bro, is you got to cheat it, man. You got to know the ins and outs. You got to cheat it, and if you don't know, you get trapped off.
And from day one, you need to be aware. You got to have the right lawyer because, as they say, prosecutors can indict a ham sandwich.
Yes.
They don't need to go in with every single shred of evidence because they're not looking for a guilty verdict. They're just looking to convince a grand jury.
It's numbers,
and
bro.
that's it.
Grand jury could be this right here.
Absolutely. Like with the ASAP case.
Look at that.
You know,
I watch that case every day, and I'm watching this circus going on in this court, and I'm like, bro, like, you know, I don't want to get too much into it, but, bro, your wife, I mean, not your wife, but your girl's Rihanna, bro. What are you doing running around with guns? Your ex-manager.
right.
Like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah,
like, in L.A. on Hollywood Boulevard?
You know what's interesting, though?
And then now he wants to say the gun is fake. It's a stuff. Come on, bro. Like,
yeah, you know what's interesting? I know there's a couple of main arguments. One is that it was a prop gun, right? The other thing
that
is
they just came with, like, a day before trial.
Right.
Like, out of left field.
Right. So it was a prop gun. I think the other thing he's saying, because apparently there's some footage of him not only in possession of a firearm, but actually
shooting,
discharging the firearm.
Yep.
So now I'm thinking, well, does a prop gun actually discharge something?
It does, yeah.
Right? But I'm talking in comparison to a bullet.
Same exact.
But so now
no projectile comes out.
No projectile, right. So now I forget the gentleman's name, the person complaining, the complainant, who's actually saying he shot him, his boy.
Right?
Yeah. Supposedly, I think he went back to the scene
to
recover shell casings. First of all, that's a little bit
He's doing too much. He's doing too much.
I've never seen that.
The fact that they even allowed that even into the courtroom
I've never in my life, and I've been an attorney for 25 years now.
But he didn't have to do that. And this is what I'm saying. He's doing too much because it's on video, and one camera had the audio where you hear the two shots go off. Right. But bro, you went back to the scene an hour later and found 2 shell casings.
And from my understanding, I could be wrong, but my understanding is that none of ASAP's DNA or fingerprints are on the shell casings.
But they never are.
They never are.
It's like hitting the lottery, bro, to get off.
But that's an argument the defense is going to make.
Yeah.
I use it every time, and it wins every
of
single
course,
time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's an argument they're going to make. And I know if I'm a juror, I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. Since when does a person who claims he was just shot actually go back to the scene to recover shell casings?
Yeah.
Come on, son.
That sounds
it's wild, yo, and it was 2 of them. The way but again, he's doing too much. You know, he got the snitch award, the rat award, but this is what happens when you do too much, bro. But they both dumb.
Right.
Both of them.
And supposedly, I think they have text messages, allegedly, where there's an exchange of communication and his boy is considering like taking money or something like that.
It was. Listen, he tried to sue him civilly, and what happened was when he called his attorney told him, "I'm not taking this case unless you go to the precinct and report it." So his civil attorney went with him to the precinct. He reported it after he tried to tell ASAP and them team like, "Yo, I got the nigga, you know, he's whatever." Allegedly, like he scraped his knuckles, and that was from when the hammer went off and they got grazed.
Right.
Whatever. He's trying to get the bag. We all know he's trying to get the bag.
Right.
But at the end of the day, he's trying to get the bag. But then this dude over here, bro, you got caught on camera with the hammer. Yeah. You want to shut him up because he's going all the way with it. Don't play with this man.
Should have took the plea, man.
But then look at the plea. The plea was 3 months.
Should have took the plea.
But then he didn't want to lose endorsements. He didn't want to lose all of these things that he has on the line. And then he felt like he was getting extorted. So ego's on the line. Then you get convicted. You lose everything.
About Cali, man.
So you get convicted.
You lose everything. Yeah. No, and then now he's facing 24.
Cali don't play, man.
Now that was a person. If he was my client, I'd be telling him, listen, you really need to consider taking this deal.
That's a fact.
You're letting your ego get in the way.
Word.
You need to really consider taking this deal.
Because and then the dude that's on the stand lying his ass. We know that because he's so thirsty. But bro, forget about homeboy for a minute.
Right.
You're on surveillance on 4 different cameras, bro. They got you. Right. They got the thing, and they got you. They
just
got you
alone.
Straight up, and he got a pistol license.
Right.
So like that's another it's not felony possession of a firearm because he's licensed to carry.
Yeah. You know what the other thing is? A lot of people think they're gonna get off because they weren't found in physical possession of it. And I tell people it doesn't matter.
See?
It doesn't matter. They don't have to find you with the gun. You know, if you go up to someone and you point the gun at someone and you shoot them, kill them, and there's a witness that says, I saw it happen. You think you're getting off just because they couldn't find the actual gun?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make any sense. But sometimes people just, they want to take a chance. Yeah. And they think there's, some miracle is going to happen. Statistically, it doesn't.
And it's crazy because he's facing, let's just say, because his ego, he didn't want to lose none of his endorsements and all of this. Bro, you about to do 24 years for a starter pistol? 24 years for a prop gun?
And your wife is a billionaire.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you like they say you play stupid games, bro. You win stupid prizes.
Yeah, it's true.
You're in L.A. on Hollywood Boulevard with mad cameras everywhere. You think you're gonna get away with this?
Yep, it's true. It's true, man. You hit it on the head.
It's crazy, bro. Yeah. So what? Give the viewers, some advice. I mean, I don't want to get into the politics of ICE and all of this that's going on,
right.
But it's a real thing with Latinos that's happening. Yeah. Like, what's some advice that you could give citizens that's dealing with this madness that's going on in America right now?
So first, let me just say this: I don't specialize in immigration, but I do understand, obviously, what people are facing. The first thing is that if you happen to be stopped by law enforcement, whether it's ICE or whoever it may be, exercise your right to remain silent. That's the first thing. Now, many of these individuals, they're not aware of what the laws are, right? And this is not only a political thing, this is an emotional thing for many individuals. Look, a lot of my clients are not here legally, but we represent them, and nonetheless, and we give them the same 200-300% we give all of our other clients. So this is a very difficult thing. But my general advice would be as follows: if you believe you and your family are potentially facing deportation or even some sort of consequences, whatever they may be, you have to keep in mind that knock may come one day. You may get a card slid under your door or something like that. You should be prepared. And so what should you do? I highly recommend you have an immigration attorney on deck. I'm happy to refer any of your viewers to an immigration attorney. You should have that person on speed dial. You should also make preparations to whatever extent you deem appropriate, but also have discussions, open and honest discussions with your children, for example. I'm hearing children are being picked up from schools, right? If in fact that is the case, and you believe you may be the kind of family that may be facing that situation, you should be giving your children a heads up, right? As opposed to them just being blindsided by this. It's a difficult thing, and I'm not going to get political. I know people have the different opinions on immigration policies. It is something that we need to address. We just need to do it in the most graceful way possible. I'll say that. We just have to be graceful with the approach here. And I mean, I'm easy to find. I'm happy to connect people with the right attorneys, no matter what type of attorney it is, if it's something that I don't do.
So yeah. what's the we about to wrap up. What's the majority of your cases now, a civil or criminal? Or it's like 50-50?
I feel like it's at the point where it's probably 50 and 50. I really do, because the criminal and civil, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Someone gets arrested, in many instances their rights are violated, and boom, now you have a civil case. So I really feel like it's at the point where it's 50-50. I really do. And I give, it may be 50-50, but I'm giving 100% to each portion.
Absolutely.
If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because, in case some viewers out there saying, well, I don't know, I need a criminal attorney, but is he focused on criminal or is he focused on civil? No, it goes hand in hand, and the majority of times I'm busy doing my thing in Supreme Court, criminal, whatever it is. The civil cases, they don't go to trial.
Settle out?
They usually settle out. A lot of adjournment after adjournment, while I'm focusing on, getting busy handling the criminal stuff.
Can you explain to the viewers the difference between, like, civil and criminal? Like, in a nutshell, like, criminal, you got to pay up front. Like, you committed a crime.
Right.
Civil, you got to hope you get the bag.
Right.
And you're basically working for free, hoping that you get the result you want. Because if you don't get the result you want.
Right. I appreciate that question, man. So like you said, criminal cases, I'm paid up front. I typically charge a flat fee. The bigger the case, the higher the fee. whether it's state or federal. I go out of state a lot. I'm hired out of state, big cases as well. I enjoy that. It's a nice break in the routine. And a lot of times people don't want to be represented by local counsel because they feel like they're too in bed, so to speak.
Buddy shit.
You know what I mean? So they'll bring me, and I just do what I have to do. But yeah, so I'm paid up front for criminal cases. On the civil side of things, I work off of a contingency fee. So essentially that means you come in, we sign you up if it's a viable case, and then everything that happens after that is on me. All of the resources, experts that have to be hired, things of that nature, we pay for, my firm.
And that's all up front.
No,
you come out of pocket with that.
I literally come out of pocket for it. So, sometimes people, they don't understand, well, why can't you take my case? Well, I have to assess the viability of your case.
I ain't finna get this money back.
I only get paid if you get paid. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
You only getting $2, bro.
I mean,
I can't do nothing with that.
I've had people tell me, well, can't you just take my case? It's just a matter of principle. Yeah, the money doesn't mean anything to me. Well, it means something to me.
Fuck?
I have a family to feed and bills to pay just like everyone else. And practice
insane.
to run, paralegals to pay. So,
people are delusional.
It's not all about the money, but the money is a factor. Yeah. I'm not doing it for free.
And that's why you're doing it, to get the bag. So.
Yeah, to get you more money, which means, of course, realistically, I get more money.
Bag, yeah.
That's just the way it goes. And, so that's the difference. And there are some times when we take a case initially, and maybe the client is not completely honest with me at the beginning. Like going back to maybe if it's a case involving NYPD, and we're waiting on receiving the body cam, right? Now, in New York City, you have 90 days to file a notice of claim against any city municipality, NYPD, corrections, sanitation. You have 90 days. If you don't file your notice of claim within 90 days, you can't bring suit on that level, right? So what does that mean? We come to you and someone interviews you, we're expecting you to be honest about the facts and circumstances, the totality of circumstances surrounding your case. Why? Because now I'm taking a chance and believing that what you're telling me is the truth without having yet received all of the evidence. So what happens? Sometimes after we sign you up and I start pushing the case, all of a sudden the evidence starts to pour in, discovery.
Happened 2 years ago.
And
Can't do nothing.
And body cam and all this stuff. And now I realize you weren't even telling me the truth. Guess what? I'm dropping your case. But it's a pain in the neck because now I need to file an order to show cause, requesting that I be allowed to be released from the case. And sometimes judges don't want to do that. So, yeah, I'm pissed off at that point because now I just wasted resources on you. So that can be a little bit frustrating. But for the most part, we're very good at really judging on the viability of a case. Our clients understand we're here to help, so don't lie to us. And if you do, we're dropping you. So,
Makes sense.
It is what it
Makes sense. Get the people how they can reach you.
I appreciate it. So on pretty much all social media platform at Santana Law Firm. The office number is 212-448-0055. You can even reach me directly via email, jsantanalawfirm@gmail.com. Pretty easy, and the website is www.santanalawpartners.com.
And that's it, man. I appreciate you coming to the Duce
Lounge.
Lounge.
You guys having me, man.
You know what I'm saying? We got all types of subjects and topics over here, but the streets needed to hear this because we got a lot of the culture watching us. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm here for the streets.
You the attorney. I'm the hood attorney. You know what I'm saying? But it's what you say goes. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it, man. All love, brothers. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Yes, that was.